Hello soul, I'm Sophia from Twin Flame Gnosis. If you're interested in twin flames, spiritual awakening and transformation, and if you want to learn what a genuine twin flame experience can look like, then you've come to the right place. You probably don't know this, but I've written a book, well, of course not me, but my master. I don't want to exaggerate, so I'll just say it turned out really good, and perhaps it's exactly the book the community needs to shed light on things and reveal the final secrets of the soul journey. Twin Flame Gnosis isn't just another contribution to spiritual self-help literature, it's a work that deliberately takes a different path. I've made a short film from the foreword and part of the afterword that gives you a first impression of what the book is really about. You'll find everything else in the description below the video and through the links on my channel, but now enjoy watching.
I've always been a huge fan of fantasy literature, and even tried writing novels myself, but I could never have imagined that I would one day become entangled in an absolutely magical and incredible story that blurs the boundaries between fiction and reality. I wasn't religious or particularly spiritual either, but then something happened that would forever change me and my view of the world. If I hadn't randomly clicked on a twin flame video a year ago, I would simply say at this point that true love made all of this happen. A love greater than anything we normally understand as love. A love that reminds us again, that reconnects us with the divine. A love accompanied by the most impossible coincidences that turn reality upside down. A rapid spiritual awakening, and an intense process of transformation. A few years ago, I met an enchanting person who was the catalyst for all of this, but who also left me puzzled and with many questions. Today I look back on that time and its wonders with love, gratitude, and peace. My experience moved me to write this book because some stories are too big, important, and beautiful to keep to yourself. For me, a great dream has come true with this book, my first published work, created with the magic and power of love. I no longer had to invent fantastic stories. I became the story myself. If you're wondering what qualifies me, besides my experience with the phenomenon, to write a book about twin flames and dual souls, and to make such bold promises as in the book's description. I've been searching for truth, as they say, the truth of this world and of existence, since around the millennium, and I've been researching early on, and publishing on a small scale, in areas generally considered secret and occult, the hidden structures and forgotten history of humanity, with all its secrets and unexplainable phenomena. Various ideas and esoteric teachings were already familiar to me, but there's a difference between reading about them and experiencing them yourself, or eventually discovering that the true conspiracy isn't worldly, but spiritual. The greatest secrets and truths are spiritual. What began as a personal love story led me deeper and deeper into the mysteries of ancient teachings and secret knowledge, into topics that had fascinated me since my youth. With Twin Flame Gnosis, I want to share my experience and knowledge with others who are also on this deeply transformative journey, and show what's possible. From spiritual awakening to what's called spiritual mastery, and all the coincidences that call the concept of reality into question. As a great friend of truth and enlightenment, I noticed when diving into the spiritual and twin flame world that it's similar to other areas of society, a confusion of partially false information, half-truths, unconscious gatekeeping, a kind of superficial spirituality light for the masses, and additionally a brutal commercialization of the twin flame concept. I don't claim to know the truth. Existence is an unimaginable paradox that eludes our understanding. But there are hidden truths and insights that revealed themselves during research for this book, gradually piecing together the puzzle into a complete picture. It's generally important in life to always consider different perspectives. A single one is limiting. Only the comprehensive picture enables a deeper understanding of the whole. Over the past centuries, spiritual knowledge has unfortunately been falsified and hidden in fragmented form, so it couldn't easily be found, even by those who searched for it. Why should it be different with the topic of twin flames? Perhaps it was my approach, comprehensive research from all available sources, unbiased and open, with a relatively neutral attitude toward spirituality, because I came across astonishing connections and parallels when I compared the various belief systems and concepts, the large and small, the well-known and less known. What should actually be obvious? There was something that ran like a thread through all teachings and traditions, the idea of the immortal soul. Knowledge of the soul and its journey is ancient, and the concept of twin flames is perhaps surprisingly to some, not a modern internet hype or spiritual romantic fantasy. The idea appears in various forms in ancient and newer teachings, and the transformative process, the inner alchemy, has been part of spirituality and also occult societies for centuries. What many may not know or suspect, knowledge of the soul is among the best-kept secrets in human history. The secrets of awakening and transformation, the power of awakened consciousness. This knowledge was hidden deep in the shadows. For a long time it was accessible only to very few and to closed societies. Recognition and identification with the soul, and knowledge of the true nature of the world, is encoded in well-known occult symbols when we speak, for example, of the top of the pyramid or the philosopher's stone. Something else was also distorted in the shadows, or one could say buried under the desert sand, a dark secret of spiritual history that people don't like to talk about. So dark and perhaps true that it's the most persecuted and suppressed belief system worldwide, whose followers died in the most gruesome ways, the Gnosis. The dark secret won't please everyone, nor is it meant to. Not all truths are comfortable and smell like roses. Ultimately, it's an offering of belief that everyone can understand in their own way, but which gains completely new relevance and topicality through the dynamics of current events, and would also have implications for our journey. But it's above all the bright, luminous secret of Gnosis that gave this book its name and concept. The recognition of the divine spark, the soul within us, awakening from illusion, without mediating entities or institutions between us and the divine. That's also the idea of this book, Twin Flame Gnosis. No teacher, no student, no instruction. Awakening in unity through knowledge and recognition. You are the light and your own teacher. I'm just showing you what you need to know and where to find it. The book shows in various chapters an authentic, paranormal twin flame experience, as well as the historical, mystical, but also scientific background of the phenomenon. The result of my extensive research, a comprehensive collection of knowledge with numerous explanations and tricks, valuable spiritual knowledge, and a very beginner-friendly guide to an effective meditation technique. And when we compare all teachings and soul knowledge, a forgotten or overlooked definition of twin flames emerges, which together with the Gnostic view could lead to a completely new understanding of the phenomenon. As we know, it's about more than just a romantic partnership or idealizing a person, but perhaps all of this is about much more than mere spiritual awakening, which doesn't mean such an awakening is insignificant. Quite the contrary, it's the best and greatest thing that will happen to you in this life. There's probably not much in human experience that even comes close. When we dive deep into ancient teachings, we'll find that twin flames are also far more than a mere anomaly within the cycle of reincarnation, an arbitrary event on the stage of existence, that there's a higher purpose behind it, and that this phenomenon perhaps requires a new, or rather, old interpretation. It's true that not everything old and spiritual is automatically true, but Gnosis alone deserves more attention through its history, the timing of its appearance, the rediscovery of this knowledge, and also some astonishing personal coincidences. I'll explain everything else in detail in my book. You'll find the link in the video description or on my channel Twin Flame Secrets, further texts and excerpts from the chapters on my website, twinflamegnosis.com. As I said, I don't claim to know the truth, because no one knows the truth or can tell you what the big picture is, what all this is about. That should never be forgotten. Be careful when someone claims to know the sole truth. But there's an undeniable truth in each of us, the truth of one's own self, finding which is the key to true freedom. And actually, everything is quite simple on this journey. You don't have to learn anything new, you just have to remember who you are and where you are. Then the real magic begins to work. This book arose from love, recognition, and remembrance, as a bridge between the visible and the invisible, as an attempt to recognize the divine spark within us, and awaken the still sleeping souls. Twin Flame. Gnosis is meant to dissolve the fragmentation of knowledge, bring light into darkness, dispel the shadows of illusion. It's written against forgetting, so that we remember who we really are, and it's meant to show that it's worth believing in true love, listening to your heart, and living your own truth. When I look back today, everything appears to me like a circle that has closed. What once began as an inexplicable encounter became the greatest teacher of my life, love itself. It led me through darkness, doubt, and hard times, through miracles, recognition, and awakening. It showed me that what I had been searching for, the truth, the answers, the divine, was always to be found within ourselves. There will probably be some skeptics and doubters. I can absolutely understand if someone doesn't believe in such paranormal phenomena, because if you haven't yet had experiences with the supernatural or aren't familiar with spirituality in general, all of this sounds very far out and unbelievable. Ultimately, it's a question of worldview, of belief. Do you believe there's more than the eyes can see or not? Especially with twin flames and dual souls, things are somewhat different than one might initially rationally assume, as we'll learn in my book. And it's also important to distinguish between spiritual fantasies and romantic wishful thinking, resulting from purely material heartbreak and relationship dramas. Many might wish to have a dual soul or twin flame, this indestructible bond of unconditional love, the feeling of being special or chosen. But the strength of feeling and pain alone is not the measure, the indicator of a genuine soul connection. It's the supernatural, verifiable accompanying circumstances, the magical and the miracles, the intense inner transformation, and how the world responds to it, the feedback from the universe with which the twin flames dance. The demiurge and his archons, however we interpret that for ourselves, whether as spiritual principles or fundamental constructs of the world, are nothing we need to fear. Only recognize as working principles and dissolve through consciousness and mindfulness, self-knowledge and world knowledge. And like so many spiritual teachings, it's ultimately an offering of belief, an interpretation that one can accept but doesn't have to. True gnosis isn't knowledge one possesses, but a remembrance one rediscovers. It's the quiet recognition in the heart that the divine was never outside but always within us. The twin flame is perhaps nothing other than the mirror in which we see this light again. Even if the concept of twin flame gnosis may contradict others, and I've criticized other concepts, I don't want to condemn the concept of coaching in general. There are certainly some who need more guidance and personal support along the way, but I want to show that there isn't one universal teaching, and every journey is individual. There are also other paths, like the path that has been walked for millennia, because it's always about the same thing in all the ancient teachings: the soul. My criticism is directed against large spiritual control systems, against concepts that create dependencies, misleading and false promises, against the excessive commercialization of something sacred, against the business of fear and suffering. The advice and tips I give here are in a sense verified by my experience and journey, but that doesn't mean all have absolute universal validity. There are clear patterns and mechanics of the soul journey/connection. At the same time, each experience is also very individual. The book and my story are meant to show what can work and what worked for me. Twin Flame Gnosis is more than a book or a YouTube channel. It's a reminder that knowledge without love is empty, and love without recognition is blind. Together they form the fire that frees the soul. I'm not a teacher, prophet, or spiritual influencer, just a human who has seen a piece of the mystery and is trying to put it into words. I don't want recognition or fame either. My truth doesn't have to be yours, but yes, I believe it was part of my mission to write this book. When I look at the coincidences connected with its creation, perhaps it was even meant to be written, although the path there wasn't easy. If even just one soul remembers who they really are through this book, then it was all worth it. And perhaps this book can contribute to further research and better understanding of the phenomenon. Perhaps others can connect the dots further from here and decipher the mystery even more, if we don't already know everything we can know in this form and world. The book is written. This part of the mission is fulfilled. I hope it has led to new insights, recognitions, perhaps enlightenments, helped one or another to remember again the light that cannot be seen with the eyes, themselves, their own light, to believe again in the flame. I'm not here to convince or debate. I simply lack the physical time for that, and my experience has taught me that certain insights cannot be read or learned. The liberating experience of truth is very individual, personal. I don't know the truth. I can only point out where and how one must search to find one's own truth, the key to freedom and peace on this journey and in life in general. But everyone must turn the key in the lock themselves. If you liked the video, I would be very happy if you give it a thumbs up, comment below, and recommend it further. Help a small flame carry the light into the dark world and ignite a fire of love and truth. Because unfortunately, stormy times lie ahead for the world and humanity. But we can all contribute so that this storm doesn't sweep us away but ignites a hurricane of love, consciousness, and truth. Everyone who is already on this spiritual journey, who has awakened or is awakening, should therefore not only seek the fulfillment of their personal intentions, but also keep the collective in mind. Help other people in this time. Consciously carry the change in which we and the world find ourselves, and thus become a mirror in which others recognize their potential and true self. It means speaking our truth whenever possible. Not necessarily exclusively about twin flames, but about the soul itself, about what we really are, and about the many worlds and realities beyond this one. And perhaps this world still plays a decisive role in the cosmic game. I'd like to close with some beautiful sentences about the driving force of this book. True love always finds a way. It never stops radiating light, because no shadow defeats the light that comes from God. And behind the shadows and illusion, the light organizes itself. The universe conspires in favor of true love, the strongest power. The matrix will not withstand the natural law of love and truth. It will collapse under the weight, and a new world will emerge. And even Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and it will set you free." May the light that led you here also accompany you further on your path, through all worlds, through all times, until you return home to what you always were. Love.